entertainmentbuddha.com.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the, Thrones Time show. That's right. It's Matt, it's Nick, it's Keith, and we even have Pete kind of sitting here, and he hasn't fucked anything up yet, thank God, because I have a broken hand, and I won't be able to defend him from my workstation like I usually have to. One, we're recording a new episode of Thrones Time, so you know what we're doing. If we're talking Game of Thrones, that's because a new episode has aired. Episode 4 it is. The Last of the Starks was the title. I mean, that dropped, by the time you're listening to this, the previous Sunday night. It was a long one. They listed 90 minutes, guys, but that's always bullshit. There's a bunch of filler, the credits, the inside episode, and that tacked on. I think the episode in total was a little over an hour, probably right around last week's a little shorter. But as we kind of do when we kick things off, we're going to go around the room, the table, and we're going to give our general consensus, our general understanding, our general love or hate. You never know. I mean, Keith was kind of upset last week with the dark episode, as it will forever be known. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to get right into it, and we've been starting with Keith, so I'm going to go with Keith again. Keith, what did you think? Because I know you guys, you're probably digging around the internet like I was today, seeing what people had to say about it. You know, we're humans. It's never just good enough for our own opinions to satisfy us. We got to figure out what other people were thinking. So, Keith, what did you think about The Last of the Starks?
So I thought it was largely kind of a tale of two episodes, almost.
Yeah.
I really, really liked the first hour. And then the last 20 minutes, just, I don't know, man. They're starting to lose me, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried. All right. We're
definitely in line. I always go last, but we're definitely in line, and I don't. You're not in the minority either. At least from what I was gathering from the general consensus of the internet voice out there today, was that people are starting to go like, hey, okay, well, maybe they needed George Martin after all. So
yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's necessarily that they needed Martin or if it's they needed 2 seasons with 10 episodes each and not 2 truncated seasons with longer episodes.
And that was their decision, right, guys? I mean, this wasn't HBO saying, "Hey, we're not going to give you money anymore for our most watched program of all time." This was them basically being artists, going, "You know, we kind of want to move on with our lives," right? Or did HBO set the 8 years and that's it?
I'm not really sure. Hirsch, do you know some deets on that?
I don't. I always just assumed it was Benioff and Weiss that kind of made that call.
That's what I mean. Like I'm pretty sure it was them going, you know, this is how long we want to do this in our life. I mean, they are, after all, they're artists. I mean, I'd say Keith's probably the biggest artist in this group traditionally. You know how it is, man. I mean, sometimes you just get tired with something you've been doing over and over and over, and these guys, they want to, I mean, hell, they landed themselves a Star Wars trilogy, for Christ's sake, so they were definitely looking beyond Game of Thrones. So I do think, as Nick said, and I'm just kind of pulling out my ass, that it was those two that kind of put the hard number on, this is 8, and in fact, we want to do it quick 8. I mean, 7 and 8 are going to be shortened.
Yeah, and you know, if it ends up being them, or if it was them and not HBO, either way, I was stoked going into 7, thinking that it was it might work out. And then 7 was, you know, we had all this sort of, you know, the time issues, and now it just, you know, we've got 2 episodes left, and there are so many threads open. And it's just like the show, like I think this episode really, really sort of showcased what the show does really, really well in the first hour. And then it also showcased sort of the weakest aspects of the show in those last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll kind of touch on the last part as you're saying. It did feel like two different episodes when I get my turn, but we're gonna go to our resident Game of Thrones super fan here. He's like me with Star Wars, where everything's gravy in Game of Thrones, just like in Star Wars for me. So Nick, what was your general feel of the Last of the Starks?
Not gravy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on it. Same way. The first, 45 minutes to an hour, I was interested in. I was excited at where some of the things were going. Tyrion was drinking again. They were playing his truth
Yes, he
or his
was. He was.
his truth or lie game, whatever you want to call it. You have Jamie and Brienne, which we'll get into, but the last you know 20, 30 minutes or so of the show, like he said, it was starting to lose me, and this season is kind of going that way for me. um, and whether it's because Martin's doesn't have the fodder for them to go off of, or if it's like you guys said, they just need a full season instead of two partial seasons. It's it's a little concerning to me how I obviously want to see how the next two episodes go. But they're
Yeah,
kind
true. We
of
could be
kind
eating
of
our words in a second.
Well,
In
I
2
hope
weeks.
I hope we
true.
are. I mean, I hope we
But
are.
Matt, as a Star Wars fan, does this worry you about Benioff and Weiss that they're kind of losing their way a little bit?
No, not necessarily, because again, they're working off of someone else's story where their Star Wars, it sounds like they're getting the free reins to kind of write something. So I do see where you're coming from. I'm still going to give them a benefit of doubt because I think
Sure.
for 6 seasons they did wow us, but they had the benefit of working off of, I mean, a Bible, if you will, a fantasy Bible that has been around since the mid 90s, and working with Martin and getting those insights. And yeah, they'll probably talk to George, this, that, and the other thing. But I guess I'll kind of go into my take on it. I'm with the both of you. I think this is the first time this season where the three of us are in 100% agreement on an episode. Started out strong. Not going to lie. I mean, I felt tense the entire time from start to finish. So this show can still do that to you, even if it's not maybe doing it in the best way it could or the way it used to. But it was a tale of two episodes. You had the first half, which was great. It was very reminiscent of episode 2, where you got some great character moments, great dialogue. As Nick said, some characters getting together and doing things that we've been hoping they would do. And just even great moments not in dialogue. Like if you just sit there and watch the feast scene and watch everyone's faces, in particular Danny, Sansa, and John, and that uncomfortable air of tension that still exists, it was great. And then we essentially got to a point where it reverted back to a time-hopping, major plot thread glossing over, skipping around Westeros affair, which we pretty much sat through all of season 7. I mean, the second part of this episode was very season 7-like. It made broad strokes with, I think, major plot points. And as you guys said, I don't know. I feel like we're headed towards a ho-hum conclusion that is not going to wow us and kind of leave us all going, wow, we really thought it was going to be a lot more than just this. And it really is. I mean, at this point, guys, we're right back to just, yep, it's a bunch of angry asshole people fighting over an Iron Throne. I mean, there's no fantasy left in it anymore. We learned the Night King and the White Walkers were legit just know-nothing boogeymen. And now the stuff that happened in this episode, it's like, okay, where else can we go? I mean, where else can the show go at this point? So, I mean, we'll discuss about it more, but I'm with you guys. I'm concerned where we're headed. I'm still excited to see where it goes, and I know next week when I'm watching the episode, my leg's going to be shaking, my heart's going to be pounding. So it's still, I don't want it to sound like we're just like, oh, we hate Game of Thrones and we're angry, Star Wars trolls now. I don't think that's it. I just think we're fans that are slightly concerned. Some of the writing's already on the wall now, and it's like for the first time ever, it's almost like the show is telegraphing where things are headed, which could be the brilliance in what has happened over episodes 1 through 4, as Keith said, or Nick, one of you guys. I mean, we could be eating crow here next week.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it too, it's the penultimate episode. Every season before this, the penultimate episode is usually the best one of the season.
Right.
So,
and we know we're getting another war. I mean,
yeah,
Amelia Clark
fight.
said that there's going to be
Yeah.
another battle, and it is this one. So
Yeah, and it's the same director that did the Battle of the Battle of
The
Winterfell or
Blackout.
the Long Night and then two others previously. So turn your brightness up next week, Keith.
Did you did you see
Well,
them like fighting with fans all week long? Like, you're
Yeah.
idiots. It's your TVs, you idiots. It's like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get to the top moments. I mean, it's hard. I mean, these last episodes, being a fanboy, it's hard to not just throw everything out there. I mean, you could argue there's at least something memorable said in every damn scene we're getting these days, but I try to limit myself. I still probably want a little heavy. But the first one for me, I mean, the episode opens with the massive funeral. I mean, we saw that in the teaser. But the moment that stood out was kind of Sansa placing the Stark pin on Theon, essentially signifying his full circle is now complete. He's back where we first met him. He's a Stark. He redeemed himself. It was kind of a nice moment for Theon, and really the way Sansa kind of brought it to life, or Sophie brought it to life, was beautifully acted and shot scene, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, what I like the most is just each one of the characters that we saw basically represented someone that had died. So you have Sansa and Theon, Arya stood over Beric, Sam, Ed, Jon stood over Lyanna, Dany over Jorah. I just thought that was really cool how they did that.
Yeah.
And then it was just a silent. They just knew the exact moment when to all light the pyres and send them all off. So I thought that was really cool how they honored everybody like that. And John's speech too, his eulogy that he gave, that was one of the biggest times where I felt like he was actually in command of something.
I
just thought he did
how
a
about
really
that
good job.
eulogy? I mean,
Yeah.
he killed it. I'm right with you, Nick. I mean, he sounded like he's led. I mean, I know he doesn't want to lead. That's not what he wants, but we know he is good at it, at least in a battle sense, and just motivating people. John can do that. But we've never really seen him in that capacity kind of deliver a Braveheart style speech. I hate bringing it up because Mel Gibson's a piece of trash, but it's still some riveting cinema if you can forget the guy delivering the speech. Either way, I'm with you, man. John stepped up. I think that was on purpose, again, just to show us and Dany, like, hey, I mean, this guy, people love him. You better watch out. And clearly she's watching out because, man, is she turning quick.
Yeah, I want one more thing on John's speech. I thought, one, that it was really telling that it was him delivering the speech, instead of, because it's the sort of aftermath of this massive war, and so many people have died. And if Daenerys really wanted to win the North over, I couldn't think of a better moment to have her, sort of show how much she cares and show what kind of leader she could be. Instead, she's so wrapped up in her own personal grief that, she kind of lets Jon take over. And I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair to her, and that it was something that they had planned. They're in the North. It's primarily Northmen who fought that fight. But I also really loved the callback to Jon's time as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, dropping, and now their watch has ended. They were the shields that guarded the realms of men. We shall not see their like again. Like, I loved it. Thought it was great.
No, it was great. It was well written. I mean, I think DB and David wrote the episode. So it was, as we said, I mean, the first act and a half were fantastic Game of Thrones. So kind of we leave the funeral scene, we get into the feast scene, which made up a large part of this episode. I watched the Game Revealed. I guess it was 17 pages of the script, so it was pretty heavy. Great character moments here, but one that I knew Nick would like, at least, because this is one of Nick's homeboys here. But I love that, Dany, as Keith said, she might have failed trying to make an impression during the funeral, but it felt like she was trying to maybe flex herself a little bit and try to win over the people in the North when she makes Gendry Lord Gendry of Storm's End. So she essentially restores the Baratheon family and gives them back their lands. I mean, their main castle.
Yeah, yeah. I thought, we see Gendry get up. We think he's either going to go look for Arya or he's going to go to the bathroom. Those were the two things
Right,
that I think he
exactly.
was going for. And then out of nowhere, Danny's like, "Oh, by the way, you're not a bastard anymore, and you're going to be Lord of Storm's End. So good job." And he obviously has no idea what to say. And Davos, ever being the quick guy, he raises a toast for him. But um, yeah, it was a great moment for Gentry right before a heartbreaking moment for Gentry, which we'll get into, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that was a cool scene. And like you said, and Danny even talks with Tyrion about it. Now she's got this fan of Gendry. He may not have a lot of people, um, or he's the last of the Baratheons, like you said. So, but it's somebody. It's somebody now in a position of power that's going to stand by her because she legitimized him.
Yeah, because clearly no one in the North is ever going to give her the time of day, and I do feel bad for her on that part. But I mean, some of it's self-earned, some of it's just the way the North people are. But so she did. She needed one of the seven kingdoms to hopefully be on her side, and she may get it in Lord Gendry of Storm's End. Next up, and we kind of talked about him earlier, but Tormund, and we don't really have to go into everything, but just Tormund was excellent throughout the feast scene. I mean, he had great comments. I forget, I put in the top moment post here, his comment about vomiting and drinking and how that essentially signifies that you're having a great time. That's the only way to have a great time. I mean, he's just the oaf that everyone loves at a party. And the quote that Nick dug up this week comes from him too. Nick, go ahead and read the quote out, but it is one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard about a man that just completed a battle.
It's great. He comes up to talk to Brienne and those guys, and just basically out of nowhere goes, "Now which one of you cowards shit my pants?" Just out of nowhere, and I'm laughing. It's a stupid joke. It's hilarious.
It's great.
It's Tormund to a
It's
T.
yeah,
So
exactly. It's spot on. Tormund, love the guy. We'll kind of talk about him one more time before we're through with the top moments. But he's been one of the better, just random side main characters ever since we met him there north of the Wall. All right, so we're still in the feasting hall, and this was a great moment. This is kind of like what I said earlier, the way they shot this, and as we all agreed, the first part of this episode was fantastic. But I was just watching the feasting scene play out, and they're cheering for Jon, raising their glasses. He's the man. He's crazy. He rides dragons, and you could see the whole time Danny's just sitting there going like, "Fuck, they literally love this guy. I was on a dragon. Why is no one toasting me? Why does no one understand that I brought all my armies here and sacrificed this? Why does no one like me?" I mean, you could feel her. You could feel her kind of retreating into a hole of loneliness, back to Princess Danny, the weak Danny. And there in the corner, we got the spider watching her. So I mean, it was just, like I said, not a lot of dialogue going on with this exchange, but it was just, you could see the way Amelia acted it. You could see Danny's just kind of frustrations and loss and loneliness, and that is leading towards, which I think's coming. I mean, she's definitely starting to transform into possibly the Mad Queen. So, any thoughts on that scene there, guys?
The second that happened, I turned to my fiance and to use more wrestling parlance, I was like, "Oh shit, Daenerys heel turn incoming!"
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
she gonna turn into a baddie. It's gonna happen.
And we got that a few scenes later. I mean, we're gonna get there, but man, she was pretty forceful with Jon. So it was just a great acted scene, great scene, and it does show that Danny may not be the sweet little princess queen that we think her to be.
Yeah.
I think it was great too that we finally see Varys being Varys again.
Oh yeah, he's
He's just kind of hovering in the corner there. The camera he's out of focus, then zooms in on him as Danny gets up. He follows her. Now that he's safe from the Night King and the Whites and everything, he can go back to playing his game and being a speaker for the people of the realm, as he likes to put it, or whatever the phrase is he likes to use.
Yeah, as long as he's benefiting
Serves
from
the
it
realm.
too.
That's it.
Right? Yeah, he's Mr.
Yeah.
Realm, isn't he?
Yeah.
Good old Spider. He never does anything wrong. All right, so we got another Gendry moment, and Nick kind of highlighted or foreshadowed it earlier when we were talking about Gendry becoming a lord. But now that he's a lord, he got a little lead in his pencil, and he goes out and he looks for his lady love, Arya, who is doing what Arya would be doing during a time of feasting. She's out there honing her archery skills, shooting at a target. So you gotta love the kid. I mean, she's definitely not giving up the assassin game after netting probably the biggest kill of all time in Westeros with the Night King. But as Nick kind of hinted, he proposes. He's like, "Hey, I want to make you the Lady of Storm's End." He finally feels like he's on equal ground to her. Clearly, he's into her, and he wants to make her a lady, but he forgot that that's not really who Arya is. So in the end, Gendry never really knew Arya in the first place.
He just never listened to her.
Right.
Yeah, that's really what it sort of boils down to. It's just like, he kind of just ignored her the entire time. And now she's like, oh, she likes me. She's into me. She'll sleep with me. And not realizing that he was, an end of the world booty call.
Yeah, that's not a bad booty call to be, but
yeah.
He's definitely not getting Arya down at Storm's End.
No, not at all.
I thought it was interesting too because when he first talks to her about it, he says, "Hey, I've been legitimized. I'm gonna be Lord of Storm's End." He's like, "I don't even know how to use a fork." And then he gets down on one knee, which I didn't know that was a custom in Game of Thrones world, but
it is now.
He basically asks her to marry him, and she doesn't respond right away. She kisses him, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then she's like, "Oh, by the way, nah, I'm good."
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up because it did kind of trick me at first. It's like, oh, there's no way. I mean, he's going to get burnt. But then she goes in, and I go, huh. And then she's like, nah, ain't happening. But poor old Gendry. I mean, hey, he's done well for a bastard of flea bottom, so we can't feel too bad for him.
I mean, he hasn't done as well as Pod. Pod's got 2 girls.
But Pod was, yeah, you're right. But Pod had a better start in life than Gendry.
All Pod had to do was smile, and he had 2 girls on his arm. I mean,
he is a pimp. You got to watch
Pod
the game.
Has a magic cock, so
yeah. You got to watch the game revealed, guys, because there's a moment they talk about Pod's stuff. So it's good stuff. You're hitting onto something there, Nick. All right, speaking of hitting on something, we finally got something that I'm sure most fans might have seen the writing on the wall. Who knows what will happen in the books, hopefully, but Jaime and Brienne of Tarth had a little sexy time, courtesy of Tyrion kind of teeing it up for his brother a little bit with that truth or dare, truth or lie drinking game they were playing. So, I mean, what did you guys think of that moment? Did you like that it happened? Did you feel like it was awkward? Was it meant to be? Did you appreciate getting that, or did you want it to not happen, or maybe happen later on?
I liked it. I initially felt kind of like, this is happening. I'm not sure if I actually want to see this.
Yes.
And then I'm like, no, wait, I do.
Yeah.
And I loved the fact that it took them, especially Jaime, so long to admit exactly what he was there for. And I could have missed this line. I could have misheard it. But doesn't he say right before, like right after they both are like disrobed, doesn't he say, "I've never slept with a man before"? And then
I've never
she
slept
says,
with a night before.
"Oh, with a night before." Damn it. It would have been better if he had just been a douchebag
all the way up until it. Yeah.
Because that was like the in character moment.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, you're spot on.
But either way, I mean, he comes in there and he's still being a dick.
Yeah.
And he's doing his "I'm jealous of Tormund" thing, and then Brienne calls him on it. And he's like, yeah, I kind of guess so. And he's doing it's so hot in here, I'm going to loosen my shirt. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to do it for you. And then he starts doing it. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I thought you knew what we were doing. Yeah. And then they finally were just like, okay, cool. So
it was a little awkward, but I mean, that had to be expected. I mean, Brienne did admit that she had never been with anyone. So it was her first. She might be a deadly warrior night woman, but wasn't that skilled in the foreplay and the hanky panky.
Well, I thought it was interesting too. When you look back at Jamie and Cersei, Cersei's the only one that Jamie's been with, right? Like, there's never been anybody else. But Cersei, she's been with. I mean, obviously,
She's
married to
she's
Robert,
all
but even
over the
outside
place.
of that, she was all over the place,
I
right?
mean, dude, in the book, she's hooking up with every knight of the Queen's Guard. I mean,
The
she's
Kettle Blacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, who aren't in the show. But yeah, I saw it was interesting that Jamie's first non-Cersei experience is Brienne. I mean, like you guys, I was hoping for it because obviously their chemistry is some of the greatest on the show. But yeah, I was a little surprised about what Jamie ended up doing then a little bit later.
Yeah,
True story.
yeah,
True story.
we'll get into that and kind of. I want to see what you guys were thinking on that one. I'm with you there. So up next, we were highlighting this when we were talking about the scene in the feast, where you could tell that Dany was just like perturbed a bit, feeling alone, maybe not sure of herself, questioning what the hell's going on. Is Jon gonna take her shit? So
Why is there a Starbucks cup in front of me?
yeah, there exactly. So just in case you missed out on that today, the big hubbub was that some dope left a Starbucks cup in a final Game of Thrones shot. Like, it was in last night's episode. Some fans clearly found it, called it out, and it was confirmed today by the creators that, yep, it was a gaffe. It's an oops. I don't know how that happens on a production like that, but hey, it happened. So there is Starbucks is now canon in Westeros.
Starbucks.
That's where it came from.
Hey-o.
Yeah, Starbucks. All right, but anyways, we finally get, and we've been waiting for this for an episode and a half now, but we finally get Jon and Dany alone again so they could continue their discussion they had at the end of episode 2, and that's the fact that, hey, we're related, and Jon has a better claim to the Iron Throne. And boy, oh boy, guys, I think it kind of went the way we were expecting. I mean, Jon literally just cut his balls off, and Dany shoved him down his throat. I mean, as I kind of put it in here, I mean, Dany, in my mind, has made Jon her Darth Vader. She has, as Emperor Palpatine did to Anakin, like, ripped his balls out, his soul out, and is now essentially controlling a husk of Jon Snow. Or did I read into that too much?
I think she's definitely playing on his inability to, one, keep a secret, and two, keep a secret from his family. I think she knows that he's not going to be able to keep that news from Sansa and Arya, and we find out not long later that that's the truth. But yeah, I mean, she still has her sights on the Iron Throne. That's what she sailed overseas for. That's what she, basically fought alongside Jon for, and now she wants to cash in. She doesn't want anybody taking that from her, especially since Jon now has the better claim.
I just think she really showed her true colors, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been wanting Dany to be this sweet little blonde that we've known her to be the breaker chains, but it's really, in this scene, to me in particular, I was just like, Jesus, she's going to be just like the Mad King. I mean, you could see why the Targaryens get this rep. I mean, she is consumed with her destiny to rule. And as Varys kind of points out later on in the episode, like, most rulers that feel it's their destiny to rule aren't the best rulers. Those that don't want to rule typically end up making the best rulers. So I just really felt this exchange and how strong she came at him. Like, listen, motherfucker, don't you say shit or you're going to fuck it all up for me. And that's how I took it. Keith, anything?
I mean, I'm pretty with you guys on that. It's interesting, Nick. I hadn't thought that maybe she was planning on Jon telling Sansa and Arya and Bran. Well, Bran already knew, but I don't know. That's an interesting thought. I'm not entirely sure that I'm on board with it, simply because I feel like she's too sort of expecting him to just follow her lead.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, it was kind of That's more of a Littlefinger Tyrion type move.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's not that
which
good.
Danny's-
I mean,
Danny's not
Sansa's
quite-
that
quite
good.
there.
She's not.
Yeah, she's very like blunt force.
Yeah,
like
she's
listen,
all just
you're
kill.
gonna do this or I'm gonna fry you.
Well, and we find out in that moment too that Jon goes, "I told you I don't want the throne," which we never got to see because the White Walkers came and they had to fight them.
Yeah, we kind of
We
projected that
never-
upon him, though. I mean, we knew he would
and
be
that's
like, nah.
that's just how he is in the whole series. He never wants any sort of leadership. He's just thrust into it, like you mentioned, Matt. And I didn't like that they took that from us in the show, where they made that an off-screen thing. That conversation with him and Danny. So that's just another like nitpick pet peeve that I've had with this season, I guess.
I just feel like this talk it's realized in the battle planning scene, like what she did to Jon when he literally is like, listen, Arya and Sansa, everyone in the North, shut the fuck up. We're doing whatever the hell the Dragon Queen wants. I'm over it. Game over. Let's go. I mean,
She's
it's like
cutting a heel promo
Danny
on
just
him.
looked at him like, you better fucking shut them up, and he did it.
Yeah, and that may have been going back to the fact that Jon bent the knee to her, obviously.
Yeah.
So even with this news between him and Danny,
He doesn't
still
want the
has loyalty
waters.
to her.
He does not want any rocky waters. Nothing. I mean, he wants things to go right back to where it was before Sam told him, and he's gonna, to a fault. That's what's gonna undo him, and it already has. I mean, the DB and David kind of explain this scene a bit, a few insights in the inside look, and this, that, and the other thing. But Jon is such a man of honor that, I mean, the reason he ended up telling his sisters because he made them swear, thinking that they would actually hold to it. Like, that's the main reason he blabbed to his family, which is the next moment here. I mean, the Stark girls now know Jon's secret, which is huge, especially for one of them who, we'll get there, but she kind of fed it to the right person to essentially feed it to the realm.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that Ned Stark kept a secret for whatever 17 or 18
I've been seeing
years,
those
and
memes
Sansa can't
today,
keep it
yeah.
for 17 minutes.
Right. I've been seeing those today too. Like, Ned kept it
Yeah.
for 20 plus years,
Yeah,
and now Sansa did it for 2 minutes. What did you guys? This was a scene like the Godswood scene where they find out. That's a scene where, as Nick was kind of bringing up, where things are really starting to feel shortchanged for the sake of time, and that's when in particular is like, why off camera the reveal to the girls?
yeah, I had that written in my notes. It's the
Let's watch it.
was
Let's watch
probably-
Bran explain it. Give us another flashback. Add more to the flashback. I mean, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, it was probably the most frustrating part for me of this episode, at least, is that they just cut away from that. 'Cause
They
that's-
did.
I
They
mean,
did
that news is huge for those
Right.
characters.
And they
for
did that
Sansa
a
and
lot
Arya.
this episode. They did a lot of cutaways. Oh, just, yeah, you know what's happening, but so we're not going to show it. Like, even the fact that the whole, we'll get there with Sansa and Tyrion, they literally leave it on like, oh, Tyrion, what if there's another? They don't go into the conversation. It just ends, and we pick up who knows how many weeks later, how many hundreds of miles away in another area. So, and this is where I think, guys, and we all brought it up, this is where the episode starts to turn, really, is now things, as we get ready for war with King's Landing, the damn fast forward button is hit again on narrative. So we get the cutaway here, and then it just jumps right into the next moment I have is Bronn's new deal. And I really only brought it up because, Bronn came back. We were wondering what episode he would show up and would he do the deed. I think we all agreed that he probably wouldn't be able to kill the brothers, but he brought a little more sass to the meeting than I expected. I mean, he punched Tyrion a good one in the face and shot an arrow by Jaime's head. What did you guys think of the Bronn deal, and are we going to see him again?
I can't imagine not seeing him again. I have no idea how or like how long they would spend on it. Because shit, man, I don't know. There's 2 episodes left.
Right.
How
Where
much
do
are we
you
gonna
where do you
see?
fit him in that it makes sense at this point?
Yeah, exactly. And like, how much time do you devote to what really boils down to a pretty minor thing? Although it could be, and I'm making this up on the spot, but I would love it if he gets to, he's trying to shoot Jamie and somehow hits Cersei.
Yeah.
I would love it. I have no,
I mean,
I have no idea how or why he would be shooting at Jamie if Jamie's in the presence of Cersei, but fuck it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I mean, do you guys think that the conversation between Bronn and Jamie maybe is the catalyst for why Jamie ended up leaving Winterfell then?
No, that was again, they address it. And this isn't me like, oh, I know everything, but they address it. Is the fact when he heard Sansa kind of gleefully saying, "We're gonna murder Cersei."
Gotcha.
Like it's basically when we get there. I mean, it's Cersei's his crack, and is he going back to protect her, take her out? Who knows? But that's what motivates him to leave, knowing that she's surrounded. She moved in all the citizens of King's Landing, and she's ready to either get burnt out or win.
Yeah. Okay.
And he can't help himself, and that's why they did like the big play up with Brienne and the goodbye, like, oh, we thought Jamie, you turned the page on Cersei, but he can't quit her. Damn it, he just can't quit her.
This episode and episode 2 is the most emotion we've seen out of Brienne that didn't involve fighting or an annoyed look.
Yeah, yep, definitely a big cry. I felt bad for the big girl.
Yeah.
I've been teasing this one, so I'm just going to throw it out there. We've already kind of talked about it. It's another one of these short-change scenes. But, I mean, Sansa using her new game-playing powers that she reminded us multiple times in this episode that she learned through her horrific struggles in life. But she lets Tyrion know the secret, too, because she knows very well that he's going to tell Varys, and then it's over. Like, she knows once it gets to the spider, he's going to start spinning those webs, trickling it out there, and making sure that things end the way he wants them to end, which is looking like Jon, not Dany, sitting on the Iron Throne. So, speaking of Jon, we had some goodbyes here. In my opinion, more short-changed scenes that should have been given more attention. I mean, Jon says goodbye to Tormund. That's could be the last, probably the last we ever see of him. Tormund's going back to the Wall. Fucking ghost, guys. I mean, again, literally, Jon ignores his dog again, looks him right in the face, and basically says, "Get out of my fucking face."
He doesn't even do that. All right.
Go. I knew this. I knew this would get him going.
Thanks a lot, Matt. When Arya, back in, I guess, season 1, when she had to chase Nymeria away, Arya throws rocks. She white fangs Nymeria, basically. She's like, get out of here. You gotta go. And then Nymeria takes off. Ghost doesn't even do anything wrong. He loses his ear in battle. He's cut up. He's lost some fur. He's still alive. He obviously did some damage, which, again, we didn't get to see because reasons. And the fact that Jon says goodbye to Tormund, to Sam. Also, doesn't make Sam promise not to tell anyone like he did for Sansa and Arya. I thought that was interesting. But the fact that he just gives Ghost a look, and then we have like the saddest image in the entire series of Ghost just standing there by himself.
He even whimpers. I swear to God, he whimpered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he does. When I watched it again, I had the subtitles on. It says, in parentheses, Ghost whining. I'm like, come on, man.
Fuck yeah.
Like,
it's horrible.
If you're not going to, like, I get you don't want to take him. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but fine, whatever. But at least acknowledge him. Jon hasn't touched Ghost since he came back. So
yeah, pet
that's
the
my
motherfucker.
rant.
Give him a hug. Something.
Yeah. He deserves a thanks for losing an ear.
It was and then the other thing, they just casually like, oh yeah, Sam and Gilly are pregnant again. There you go. We'll just throw that in there. Why not? Just a one sentence deal. I mean, Keith, then are scenes like this? Is this where you're getting frustrated? Where you just like, hey, come on, like, where's the narrative? Where's some development? Where's some payoff?
Yeah, it was right at that sort of the ramp up toward leaving for King's Landing is when things started to go south for me. It gets even worse after they all actually do leave Winterfell.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, it started. I think the goodbyes, that's where it really started to irk me. I was bothered by the cutaway from the Godswood scene a little bit. not overly much, but here is where things are just like, okay, when did we push the fast forward button?
Yep. We're right back in season 7, my friends.
Oh, no.
And up next, a moment that I, again, did not see coming at all. I'm starting to get tired of this Euron guy. I mean, he's essentially, at this point, a superhero in Game of Thrones. I mean, his fleet is damn near magical, in my opinion. It always knows where to be, and it literally decimates any fleet in its way. And as a byproduct, as Keith said, so everyone's leaving Winterfell, and fast forward button's been hit. We got factions going here, factions going here, here, and here. So we got Dany. They're rolling back to Dragonstone for some reason, because that makes sense, considering they want to go sack King's Landing, and Dragonstone's a fucking island somewhere. I didn't quite get that, but whatever. They go there, and everything's like, oh, great, hey, we're flying our dragons. Look, we're home, guys, we're home. And then boom! Boom! Twice! I mean, the poor goddamn Rhaegal gets taken out in 2 seconds. I mean, it's like Euron has fucking laser-guided Scud missiles. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, who is this guy? Who is this Euron guy?
Whatever improvements Qyburn did to the Scorpions were very significant and effective.
I mean, legit. Like, like I said, there's some sort of targeting system. I mean, because they fucking perfectly nailed Rhaegal. Perfectly nailed him right in the fucking heart. Clipped his wing and then right in the fucking neck.
And the dragons and Dany flying high don't happen to see a bunch of ships down below. That's the other part that was
insane,
questionable. But
and by the way, you guys saw how big those things were. She could have just flown behind the ships and raised the entire fleet.
Yep. That's what me and a coworker were talking about today. Was like, why didn't she just swing around behind them?
So really, the tragedy here is we lose another fucking dragon. And it just seemed foolishly. It didn't even go out in a blaze of glory. It was just taken out like a chump by some drunk octopus fucker. I mean, this guy, like a guy. I mean, just think about what this guy has done now. I mean, he's taken out Dorne by himself. He's taken out Dragon by himself. He's taken out another one of Dany's fleets by himself. It's just like, okay, all right, like. Come on. I know this show's fantasy-based, but what the fuck is going on here? This is what you get with this fast-forward shit. You got to clear up. That's what they're doing. They're clearing up major plot threads in literally 3-minute scenes.
Yeah. I had very little problem with Euron being there because it did, I think, make narrative sense. You know, like, sure, they've been spending
I'm just being
however long up north.
But what was the reason to go back to Dragonstone? Did I miss that?
I think it was, the idea was that Jon and who was it, Davos, were going to take the actual army and basically lay siege, not necessarily even lay siege to King's Landing, but just kind of camp out there,
right,
and make sure that, you know, essentially nothing happened. And kind of wait for the people to turn against Cersei. With Dany being back at Dragonstone as the, you know, like, hey, let's keep her safe / make sure she doesn't decide to rage and burn the entire city to the ground.
I thought they had a reason to go back there because, like, tactic-wise, it makes no sense. Why you would take your 2 war machines, like, literally your dragon jets, and remove them from the war map. It makes no sense. I mean, Jon's plan was, let's lay siege. Let's use the dragons to keep them in the harbor, to burn their supplies, starve them out. We'll make them hate the queen from the inside. And then Dany goes to Dragonstone for some reason, which I haven't looked at a map of Westeros in a long time, but I'm pretty sure it's not fucking close to King's Landing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just weird. I do get it. I understand why he may be sailing the seas looking for her, but how would he know she would go to Dragonstone? Why the fuck would she go to Dragonstone in the first place? That's what we get. That's what we get with the fast forward stuff. I really do. I really think that whole exchange was a casualty of fast forward. Let's just move on. Let's take more of Dany's forces off the table, push her closer to madness, push her closer to the brink of snapping. and we'll blow away a dragon too. I just get pissed off when they.
Well,
kill
yeah,
dragons.
we needed to get rid of Rhaegal.
Right. That's
and that was a convenient way to do it.
right. It just I don't know. I didn't get that. I don't. Why are you going there? But hey, whatever. It's a fucking TV show. It's not real life. Okay, so this is one of Keith's favorite things here, and it's popped up again. I mean, they're still going with this Cersei baby thing, and now it's Euron's baby. So, what do you think, Keith? You're still on. She's full of shit, and
Oh my god, the fact that she's like now she's like, oh, by the way, Euron, we are having a child together. Like, no.
do you see how he looks at Qyburn? Like, is she telling me the truth? And that slime bag's like, oh, of course. And of course, Euron,
yeah.
I mean, he's a moron. He's like, all right.
Yeah, it's like, yes, my cock is the most powerful cock.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
But no, for real, it's just at this point another one of Cersei's manipulation tactics to be like, oh yeah, you love me, we're having a child together, so you'll obey anything that I say. It's if she is on the off chance that she is actually pregnant. Could you imagine his reaction when the kid pops out with a full blonde head of hair?
Right, yeah. It goes, I'm a lion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're still going with she's full of shit. Like
100, and I mean...
It's laughable at this point, I think. Like you said, it's
Same.
like, how dumb are these men? Like, how
Same.
fucking
And-
stupid are
and,
these
like,
people?
when he looks at Qyburn and Qyburn gives him the, Qyburn gives away his game later on in the episode when he says, I'm just a mouthpiece for the queen. Like, he's going to do whatever she tells him to do.
Oh, yeah, right.
And, yeah. So, that's where I stand.
Fake baby remains.
Fake baby.
Okay, so, I mean, Varys, he's clearly kind of drawn his line in the sand, guys. I mean, he had some very candid talks with Tyrion, and treason, not treason. He pretty much lays down the gauntlet that he thinks Jon's the guy, and he's going to do, at least how I took it. It sounds to me like Varys is going to do what it takes to prop Jon up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he serves the realm, and Jon's at this point the better option as leader than Dany. So
I mean, do you think he's going to be the one to kill? Like, they pretty much get to the point, like, someone's going to have to kill her, probably.
yeah, and I mean that scene with Tyrion, I'm so glad to have Tyrion and Varys back together in a room talking again.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like Tyrion said. What Varys is talking about is treason. You know, it's one thing to think about. It's one thing to say the words out loud. You know, and that's when Tyrion asked him, "How many kings have you served?" You know, 7, 8, and at some point, you know, Varys is going to have to hitch his horse to a wagon. He's not going to be able to keep going back and forth forever, because if he goes against Dany, he's probably going to wind up dead. If he goes against Jon, or he's probably going to wind up dead either way, I think. But he is not. He's not making a choice right now. He's trying to do the least of two evils, I guess.
Yeah,
and I mean, speaking of ending up dead, Melisandre even tells him, you know, like, you have to die in this strange.
Oh yeah, he's dying there too. Yep.
Like he's got to go.
What do you think's gonna how's he gonna get himself killed? Is it gonna be this plotting to take out Dany that does him in?
Oh, that's a really good question. Probably.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be the one plot that he makes that doesn't pay off.
Yeah,
Because I mean, he's
gonna
kind
burn
of,
him.
Yeah, he
Literally, probably.
Yep. Yeah,
All right.
that's in the cards.
But you're right, Nick. It was good to see the game players getting back to playing the game, because that's what made the early seasons a lot of fun. The plotting, the scheming, the conniving, the cheating, all that. We're slowly getting back there, even though I think it's fast forward to get there, and we've lost a lot of kind of the fantastical lore, and some of the stuff's been kind of cast aside for the books, which will never get written, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and part of it too, going back with Varys and Tyrion, you know, Varys has made his point known, and Tyrion has to decide what to do with that information.
Oh, yeah.
Does he tell Danny that Varys is no longer, can no longer be trusted by her? What does Tyrion do with that info? And obviously, those two did have the conversation earlier about, do have the conversation again about Jon's heritage and the better claim.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrion, again, I do think he has a soft spot for Dany. Clearly, he's been fighting for her. He tried to convince Sansa she's good, Varys, but he's also not an idiot. But he does sometimes think with his heart, so I don't know. That's one to think about with Tyrion. I could see him going down with the Dany ship, though. Definitely see Tyrion riding that one out, but you never know.
He could swim, as we found out, so...
Okay, so we already kind of talked about this. Like I said, my belief here, and kind of what the writers hinted at, the reason Jaime just kind of got up and left once he heard that, another dragon was taken out, Dany's got her surrounded, Cersei's doing this, she's basically begging Dany to light King's Landing on fire. So I do believe Jaime is initially going down there because of the Cersei crack, but I ultimately think this was done to hopefully, maybe we'll get back to some of the fantastical stuff, hopefully bring resolution to the prophecy. And that's the one where, Cersei was told that she is eventually going to be snuffed out by the younger brother. So I think it was twofold. I mean, I do think he's leaving not to just go kill her. I don't know if he's leaving to go protect her. I think he may be leaving to see her and possibly plead with her again. I don't know. That's foolish. He should know better. But like I said, and he even said, I've done a lot of horrible shit for this woman because it is Cersei. I mean, she is my crack pipe. But I ultimately think this is to get him there close to her so he can be the one.
I'm 100% down with that reading.
Yeah,
I think it's, how can we get Jaime to King's Landing? And, being a fuckboy is a pretty good way to get him down there.
Fuckboy. Jaime, he's literally used to be the greatest knight in the realm, and he's been reduced to a fuckboy. Literally, I mean, he was the women were calling on him heavily in this episode. Fuckboy. Jaime the fuck. That should be the title of your replay all this week. Jaime the fuck boy.
I will say I'm a little bit nervous that we might not get the Valonqar theory because I don't think they ever discussed it in the show. That's out of the books.
Yeah, man, they're cutting that shit left and right these days. I mean, the books basically are gone.
Not, I mean, I feel like it's gonna happen that Cersei dies, and it's gonna be probably by the hand of Jaime, but I'm keeping open the fact that that prophecy was never discussed in the show, so they might not even end up using it, but who knows?
I don't know where shit's going now. I mean, I kind of do, and it's definitely not the holy shit type of ending that I thought was coming before we started watching this season. I think it's going to be just ho-hum. All right, well, yeah, we kind of knew that. Thanks. All right, last but not least, we did have a main character death in this episode, and that was because Misc got taken as a prisoner of war during Super Euron's attack on Dany's fleet. Again, the end here, it's like, come on, guy, you really think Cersei's gonna fucking parlay? I mean, it's like, Tyrion, man, you really have lost your edge, bro. But hey, Misc's dead. That's pretty much the nail in the coffin for Dany. I mean, she's lost Jorah now. She doesn't have Missandei. Those were like the first two people that helped her to prop herself up and become the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons. So she, like I said, we've been saying, she's in this lonely, lonely place. The people that used to guide her and give her kind of the feedback and the way to rule the right way, the people she would actually listen to. I mean, she clearly can't listen to Tyrion anymore. He's screwed her over a few times with bad advice. But Jorah and Missandei were kind of kept her, in my opinion, even-tempered, even-keeled. And now that they're gone, especially the way Missandei went down, it was basically a fuck you from Cersei. And that's exactly, again, you guys got to watch the game revealed after this, because Lita Headley, she does an interview about that exchange, and it's perfect. She's like, I just acted it as like I was basically just saying a fuck you and a fuck you too to them by doing this. And it was, It was a great Cersei moment. I thought it was a foolish Tyrion moment. But if anything, the scene was meant to possibly create the Mad Queen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And you see that look in Danny's eyes.
Oh yeah, man, she's ready to fucking kill babies at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping for a split second when Cersei stood there next to Missandei and was like, if you have any last words, say them now. I was like, all right, Missy, just take the chains, wrap them around Cersei's neck, and jump off the edge. Just take her with you. But obviously that wasn't going to happen. And now, obviously Grey Worm's pissed off too. So I'm curious to see, obviously we want the Clegane Bowl, but, maybe Grey Worm has a say in the Mountain's death since he swung the axe.
That's a good point. They're probably going to let him get his shots on it. I mean, maybe he goes down and leaves the opening for the Hound. Hopefully they'll at least give us that. I mean, these days it doesn't. Who knows what they're going to give us besides just fast forward. We're here. We made it. We can go work on Star Wars. Okay, guys. Well, I mean, we made our way through The Last of the Starks. I did like the title. It kind of was echoing the Godswood scene, but it was another one. It was an episode where it's just like, okay, rubbed us the wrong way. I definitely was tense while watching it, but by the end, I'm just going, yeah, that whole Night King thing. They're really still they're kind of keeping that theme going here. We're just rushing towards the end. Forget the fantasy, forget the magic shit. Who gives a fuck? We're just people fighting for a throne now. Yeah, right back to just generic good guys, bad guys. Good guys probably win. Yeah. All right, whatever. We got 2 more to go. It can be corrected. I say that about, those of you that hate TLJ. Remember, it is a middle act of a 3-act story. A lot of stuff could be covered and highlighted in the third one that makes the second one make even more sense. You never know. So we could be eating crow next week, and I hope we are. I really do. I mean, I still love this show. I'm super excited to watch the next episode. But as Keith kind of hinted at it, I did, Nick, things aren't quite going where we thought, and the way we're getting there is a little troubling. But we'll be back next week to talk about it. So tune in. You can do so through entertainmentboo.com. You can find us on iTunes, best podcast for pop culture geeks. That's what we are. That's our family of casts. We've got other ones where we've got kind of some video game and other geeky stuff going on. But the important thing is Game of Thrones, 2 episodes to go. Matt, Keith, and Nick will be here to break them down. Bitch about them mostly, because that's pretty much what these have turned into. We just complain and we talk about how we could do things better, but that's what geeks do. We're just not jobs that go out there and make it our lives to tell people that on Twitter, and troll, and hate. We do it in a much more grown-up fashion by sitting around in our basements and talking on mics. All right, until next time, which one of you cowards shit my pants?